Um, it's we can go ahead. If you want to talk to my mom, she'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay. How far are you from your house?
Uh, depends on traffic, anywhere from 20 minutes to an
Oh my gosh.
hour.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I don't know. It seems like the Wi-Fi is a little glitchy, so we can go ahead and try. And if things don't work, we can maybe try later or maybe this weekend. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So thank you all for first of all for agreeing to do this. And so we're taping it. That way we can share with other people and our other donors because people are always interested to know about, who is doing the work to support water projects. And I just love it that you've gotten involved and are spending your time and your efforts because I know you are a very busy young man. You have lots going on. So I just think it's wonderful that your heart has been moved to do something about the world water crisis. So first of all, I just want you to just say your name and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, your age, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Solis. I'm 16 and I live in Sacramento, California. Mom just got back in the car.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you finally, Miracle.
Yeah, I love your hats, man. I mean, we love wearing hats in Texas, especially in Austin. So I'm digging the hats right now. So I think you guys froze up on me.
Did we lose her? I need to get better service. Get out of here. You see, we're in a bad area. We're going to drive to a better area. Hopefully, we'll lose you.
Okay, well, I was telling Michael, do you want to, since it's sort of glitchy, do you want to wait for this weekend or do something different? Because if it's glitchy, this might.
No. Let me just move. Let me just drive to a better area. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's us. So let me just drive to a better place. Can you hear me? Better place. Give me a minute.
Okay.
I'm almost out of here.
All right.
We're in a really bad area. So give me a minute.
Okay.
I'm almost out of here. Or his school is like down in a hole. All right. Should be better now. Go ahead and try it.
All right. We'll try it and see what happens. So I have you on the screen too. I don't know if that's going to interfere or not, but you're also admitted to the room. So anyway, I was just asking Michael to share a little bit about himself, and he just said his name and his age and where he lives. So just going to go ahead and proceed with the questions that I sent you guys previously, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So Michael, how did you first learn about Water to Thrive?
So Eden is our neighbor, and so we were talking. I think we were just kind of both outside.
Okay, it froze up again, so I'm not catching anything.
Into doesn't get much better.
Hold on. Let me just get out of here. Do you have her now?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and tell me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So Eden is our neighbor, and we were just talking to her dad Ivan one night. I don't know how it was brought up, but they were telling us about Bunatari roasters, and we kind of were just like, hey, we can help, get more representation, especially since I'm in Troop 1 and I'm an Eagle Scout. Those were definitely things that we could use to help advertise, I guess. And that's just kind of how it started.
Okay, great. So again, we're taping this. So Eden Wild, just for those who watch this video after the fact, is a young lady who is from Ethiopia. She was adopted from Ethiopia and has been raising money for clean water. Her and her father just traveled there to visit Hartswell that they financed, and she also she roasts coffee and sells that to support their fundraising efforts. So it's really cool that Michael got involved. So tell us about your efforts in fundraising for clean water. So what have you been doing to help raise funds?
So there's kind of two main things I've been doing. The first one is just kind of raising awareness, telling all my friends, all their families, and that in addition to, I actually made a poster board that's got all this information about water crisis and Water to Thrive, and how easy it is to just donate a small amount of money, but a big difference that can make. And so far we've brought that poster board to a recruiting event for Boy Scouts, and then we had QR code in case people didn't have cash. And then the second thing is comparable to what Bunatari Roasters is doing, where the coffee is just kind of a gift you get for donating. It's not really like you're buying coffee, because money really is just going straight to Water to Thrive. So I'm making these wire animals, I guess. So
Yeah?
far it's African elephants, and then I've made one draft, but they're much harder. So I haven't.
You'll have to take some photos of those and send them to me so we can take a look and see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been giving those to some of the people who have donated that we've been talking to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you said you created sort of an informational board about the water crisis. So what is it you learned in doing some of the research about the water crisis that you didn't know before you got involved?
It's definitely the scale that it happens on, because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, it's a big deal, and then that's kind of the extent of their knowledge. But looking at the actual numbers kind of puts it into perspective. Definitely changes the way I've thought about it. Because before I was the same way. I was like, yes, there's a water crisis and it's a problem, but now I know that of the 8 million people, not 8 million, 800 million people in Africa, around 300 million don't have access to clean water, or at the very least, not easy access. Like they might have to walk several kilometers just to get clean water. And one of the biggest impacts of that is actually because women and girls they're primarily the ones going to get the water. And so it causes this deficit in the education for females. And I heard about one study that showed that just I think it was just reducing the walk to get water from 15 minutes to 12 minutes, like massively increased school attendance by girls. And so it's like just, and then there's like the problem of, well, now we know the issue, but how do we fix the issue? And trying to pipe water to all these rural areas is just extremely expensive. And trying to build sanitation stations and maintain them for the surface water, it's it's just not sustainable. So that's actually, that's why wells are the best option, groundwater, because it's the cleanest and compared to the other options, it's the easiest, fastest, cheapest option to get clean water in almost any area.
Yeah, you need to be our infomercial for water to thrive. A lot of people just don't know this, and they say things to me like, "Oh, why don't they move?" They say things like that, or why don't they just gather water off of their gutters, or why don't they boil wood to sanitize or to clean the water? And I'm like, these aren't feasible, sustainable solutions. They don't have gutters on their houses, number one. It's dry season and rainy season, so sometimes there's not enough water to even gather. Moving isn't an option. They're not going to move from the land where they farm. They're farmers. They're not going to move away from their land. But I think, we as Americans have always had water, right? We turn on the faucet, we have clean water to drink, we flush our toilets, we take a shower. There's hardly a time when there's not water available to us. To know that there are people living in Africa who have to walk 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 miles for water, and it's dirty and it's filled with diseases, and they spend their whole day doing that. It's just not something we can even conceive until you're there and you see it. You get it because you've been working with Eden and you've done the research, but it's really just not something a lot of people think about in this country. And there's a saying that you don't know what you don't know. And I think what you did is creating information so that people can understand it is really the first step to knowing, oh, there's a problem. Now, what can I do?
We'll send her pictures of that in the images.
Yeah, we can send you pictures of the poster board and some of the elements.
Yeah, I would love to share that. So, and that's to one of my questions. Some people feel like they need to be rich or have a lot of money, like be a Bill Gates or a Michael Dell to make a difference. But can you talk a little bit about your philosophy on this? Because you're making a difference. Eden is making a difference. Maybe not to millions of people, but the people in that village where I visited, where she put a well in, those kids and the people were so thankful. So you guys just did another well. So that's 2 villages, 2 complete villages that have water because of your work.
And the surrounding areas that might, people might not have to walk as far anymore. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your philosophy around that. So a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't do anything. I don't have the money. I've got to send my kids to school and pay for school fees, or a kid may think, oh, I couldn't do anything. I'm just a kid. What can I do?
Yeah, I just say like the big thing is like, look at me, I'm doing something. And it's really not as hard as it seems. Being an Eagle Scout and having like project management experience and stuff, it's like, this is almost like a cakewalk in comparison with programs like Water to Thrive, where all you need to do is just get them the money, and you can do it however you want, and then they basically take care of the rest. And like they even have a lot of resources for fundraising yourself. Like a lot of the graphics I got for the poster board were from Water to Thrive's website. And really, it could be as simple as just sending out a couple of emails to your friends and family.
Yeah, I think that's, first of all, I'm so glad you used some of our photos, because we've taken a lot of videos and a lot of photos, and we tell all of our ambassadors and our advocates, use this however you want to use it, because I do think the visuals are so impactful. Again, if you see it and you're like, oh, now I understand what you're talking about. I have a beautiful piece of artwork that it was a lady I met on one of my first trips, and she said, they had a well. I said, can you take me to where you used to get your water? And she said, oh yeah, it was a lake or a pond. She took me, and Michael, it was a mud puddle. It came up to her ankles, and it was just a mud puddle. And she was dipping the water out, and she's pouring it into her jerry can. And she said, yeah, I used to put a piece of cloth over it and strain out, but I could see wriggling in it. And I said, this is where your entire village got their water? She said, yes. It was a mud puddle. It wasn't a pond. So I think, first of all, yes, again, thank you for using those resources. And I think it's just as easy as that. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. It's one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. But I used it as a fundraising effort. And what I did was I'm like, I've got 100 friends. I reached out to them and said, could you donate $100? Because I thought 100 friends, $100, I could raise $10,000. That's 2 wells. And it was just that easy. Some people gave 500, some people gave 50, some people gave nothing. But, I raised the money, and it was like, all I did was ask my friends, will you help me? I'm climbing this mountain. This is my effort. I want you to join me and support me, not pay for the climb, but donate money so that we can move this mission forward. So I think we all have friends, and even you have a few friends that I'm sure have donated $1 or $2 or $5, or maybe they gave their allowance. And that's just so cool that they're thinking about someone else other than themselves. Because I always say this, that I have everything I need, everything, and most things I want. So, and that in life is, a lot of people don't have everything they need. And water is a basic human need, right? So this has been great. What questions do you have of me? Do you have any questions about our projects, our work, how it's done, anything?
How's it done?
Yeah, how is it done? How do you get, like, that's my biggest question, is how do you get the equipment out there to drill the wells?
That is a great question. So Water to Thrive works with NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are existing in the country. They know the language because they live there. They're Ethiopians, they're Ugandans, there's Tanzanians. They get the equipment in the market. Now, when you talk about getting it to the villages where there are no roads, and I've been to these villages where, yeah, the road is ended when we get out of the truck, and I have asked them, like, how do you get the materials? It's either brought in by human power, these people walk it in, or they use their donkeys or whatever they have to take it in. So a lot of the things like the concrete rings, I've seen it where they've made those on site. So they pack in the sand and the gravel and everything you need to make the cement. They pack in the pumps, and those are heavy because they're stainless steel. They pack those in. So again, either humans pack it in, vehicles first, if they can get there. If not, humans, donkeys, however they can get the materials to the well site.
Yeah, and then there's a couple things I wanted to add, I guess.
Yeah.
Is one about people asking why can't they just move? More specifically, it isn't an option because the water issues they can't move because of the water issues. It creates like a poverty cycle that they can't get out of, because the resources are just sapped, caring for people who get sick because of the water, and then they can't break out of that cycle until you don't have to care for like half your family having typhoid fever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Again, many of these people are subsistence farmers. So, that they raise the animals, they grow crops, and that's how they make their own food, and that's how they live. So there is, not that they don't have currency, because they do, of course, but that's their livelihood, and they are raising their animals, growing crops. And so, when we say we work in rural villages, they're the ruralest of villages. So there isn't electricity. A lot of times there aren't any roads. These people might live at the top of a mountain, or, at the bottom in a valley. So very isolated. Yeah. So that's the kind of, sort of standard of living they had. So when you talk about, we always ask when we go to the village, where's the closest clinic? And they'll tell us, oh, it's 5 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away. And if somebody's really sick, the hospital is, 50 or 100 kilometers away. And, there it's a pay as you go. So you have to have the money for the medicine. You have to have the money to pay the doctor. So a lot of times that's just, people don't go to the hospital, to the clinic when they're really, unless they're really, really, really sick. Like in the US, if you had a sniffle, your mom's like, oh, we need to take little Michael to the doctor and, he's got a cold or whatever. But that's not something that, happens there. It's when people are really, really, really sick before they take them to the doctor.
And then I wanted to add for anyone watching or listening who's thinking about starting their own campaign, your example of your climb of Mount Kilimanjaro was great, but you don't have to climb a mountain to do this. You could say, oh, I'm gonna bike 100 kilometers or 100 miles in a month for this cause. Like, it doesn't, you don't have to go climb a mountain. You can do this from
Right
your
here.
home,
Yep.
right in your neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, you could do post 100 TikTok videos, one every day for 100 days. You could be very creative, and people like those kind of things. We have one couple that they had their wedding anniversary and they just asked people to give to their wedding anniversary. Another man that I work with, I think he was turning, how old was he turning? And he asked for his age and donations. And I said, well, you can always turn it around. Like, if they can't donate 82, they could donate 28. I said, make it fun and easy for them. So birthday campaigns on Facebook, we have a university here that they've raised money every year, and, just selling little cups of coffee during finals week, or, you can be very, very creative. We had University of Texas, one of their student groups, they did a dodgeball for the cause. So they had a dodgeball tournament with different teams, and they raised enough money for a well. So it's you're right. It's simple and easy things that you can do. Be creative, and it's amazing what can happen. Absolutely.
Yeah, and make it something you enjoy. Like, I love working in the garage and just making stuff. Right now I'm really into metalwork, and so making those little wire elephants, that was something I like to do, and
Yeah.
it contributes.
Yeah, and I think people love that. They know that that's something you enjoy. You're giving it away for a donation, and people love supporting that kind of thing. They're like, look at this young man. He's being creative, and nobody's going to turn you down. It's like when the Boy Scouts come and they're selling popcorn, or the Girl Scouts come and they're selling cookies. I don't need another cookie. But I'm like, yes, I'm going to buy those cookies because they're good, but also because I'm supporting the Girl Scouts. So I think you're right that it's, when young people say, I'm doing this thing and will you support me? And, people are all over that. So keep on keeping on. That's awesome.
So we're gonna do a third wheel.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go for another walk too.
Yes, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Well, let us know if there's anything you need from us for resources, or it sounds like you got it down, but if we ever want to do a presentation, if there's time I can come on and answer questions or anything like that, just let us know. We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So we want to know also about traveling to Africa where the well is built. How is that? I mean, what's the options for that?
I usually go twice a year in non-COVID times. I'm thinking about going in February. That's my plan. We always invite our donors to go with us. If they want to go, I try to really sort of make the trip around some of their interests. So, sometimes we go to historical sites because I don't want it just to be about the poverty of Africa. These countries are beautiful. People are beautiful. But I want you to have, sort of a range of experiences. So, I usually go for a month. Most of the travelers go from 10, 12 days because most people can't get away from a month. We take care of all the arrangements. You've got to have your shots, lots of shots. Number one is yellow fever. Of course, now we have COVID testing restrictions. You have to have your passport. I think the protocol for the visas have changed. And I'm having my office manager check into that. Before we could just arrive at the airport, get our visa, stamp our passport, go on your way. Now I've heard you actually have to send off your passport and get the visa that way, but I can let you know if you're interested. We also usually go in the summertime because that's a better time for people to be off, kids. I have college interns that have gone with me. So we usually also take a trip in June. And then sometimes we also go in the fall. I flip that between the fall and February, just depending, but I haven't been in 2 years. So I need to get back over there. So we've done, I've given the option of wildlife safaris. Of course, it's expensive, but if people are in Africa, they're like, I've already paid for the flight. I want to go see some wildlife. Or again, there's, a lot of historical sites. We've visited Lalibela, the rock-hewn churches. So again, it just depends on, your interest. You'd say, no, we're not interested in that. What I'd really like to do is, tour a hospital, or speak to somebody who's, doing other kind of mission work, or really, I just want to sit in the village where there are water and play with the kids and get to know their stories and learn more about their way of life. So we try to do it, what interests you and really tugs at your heart and that you want to get involved in and be a part of. So
how do you guys pick the well? I mean, the village where like our well will be built. How do you decide that?
It's really about the need because, I don't know where the villages are. I don't know who needs water. So we work with our partners. We also work with the government, the water district, and they've taken a census. They know there's a village over there with, 325 people. There's a village over there with 450 people. They know where the need is. And then they don't just go in and we just don't go in and put in a well, but we go in and they bring the community leaders together and they say, we're going to come here and we might put a well here, but we have to have your cooperation and you have to support this. So it's getting their buy-in and cooperation, because if we put a well in where it has to go and there's a man that owns that land, he has to say, this is not my well. This is the community's well. So that's part of that too. So they decide, we go into areas. We don't just put a well over there and a well over there. We go into areas and go, okay, now we're going to work in this area. We're going to bring the water access up. And when it's at a good level, we're going to move on to the next area. So we usually concentrate our projects in an area with our partners to create economies of scale. So that, because Michael, these technicians who dig these wells, it's hand dug. They're digging with a shovel. They live in the villages. There was one young man I met, and I think he'd been sick 3 times from drinking the water while he was digging the well in that village, because these aren't places where there are hotels or places you can, restaurants or bars you can hang out in. These are out there, and these people have to go out there and live there while they're doing this work.
So is this well going to be near Eden's first well?
I don't know. We'll most likely it's going to be in the same general area, but as far as near it, I don't know yet. I'll have to talk to Dick, the founder, who takes care of the assignments. And we can say as much as possible, we'd like to be near the first well if that's a desire. But I know her dad contacted me because there was a place they visited and he asked me, can we put the well there? She met the people and they really need water. And I said, I'll see what we can do. And I've been in communication with our partner saying, do you remember the name of the village? And she did. And I said, is it in the same area? Can our donor put the well there? And I think they're going to be able to make that happen.
And then how long does it take once he raised all the money? How long does it take from that point to actually have the well operable?
Great question. We usually tell our donors from 12 to 18 months, and that seems like a long time. But part of that's because, we've got projects we're working on now and we're finishing those up. So there's always the rainy season where they can't go out into the field. once they're ready, then the new project group starts, and they don't just do one well, but they do parts and pieces, and then once I get all of that work done, then they do the next part. So again, then the rainy season comes again and they have to delay. So we like to be on the safe side and give you a longer timeline. That way, if it takes less time, of course, things happen in Africa. Like right now, there's the war in the northern part of Ethiopia. So, wells there's not much well construction going on in that part of the country. So we never know. And there has been violence, and there were protests in other parts. And so they're like, we're not going out into the field. It's not safe. So, we say we have a thing called TIA. This is Africa. So that covers everything. So if electricity goes out, we say TIA. If the road washes out, have a flat tire, we say TIA. It covers everything.
So your organization is a nonprofit, I take it.
Yes, ma'am.
And so how large is it, based in the US or is it based in Africa, or like, where'd you guys start?
We started in Austin, Texas, in a church Bible study group studying world hunger and poverty. And somebody spoke about the water crisis. That group raised enough money, I think, for 7 wells. And then the church said, we want to get involved. The rest of the congregation, they raised enough for 12 altogether, 12 wells. The founder said, if we can do this as one church, what would happen if we invited other people with similar hearts to join the effort? That was 2008. And since then, we've funded over 1,220 wells in those 3 countries, which means water for 660,000 people. So
what type of church?
It was a Lutheran church.
A Lutheran church. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. And is the nonprofit tied to the Lutheran church, or is it separate?
Yeah, we say our roots are in the church, but we don't evangelize. We don't, our mission is to provide clean water projects. That's not to say that we don't pray when we're there, because we do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great. We're Christians, and I mean, I think it's great. And I was actually confirmed Lutheran, believe it or not.
Wow.
But I'm not a practicing Lutheran now, but I was confirmed.
Well, I've had my indoctrination into Lutheranism. I always say it's they say God's work our hands, and I love that. It's about doing works, and I say that's showing the love of our fellow brothers and sisters through our works, not it's through our deeds, not through what we say, but actually what we do. And I love that piece. And the other thing, people are like, oh, do you spread the word? And I'm like, I've been in those countries, and I'm like, they have a stronger faith than I've ever thought about having. And I'm not there to preach to anybody or to teach to anybody, because they could teach me some things for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my last question is, I'm a civil engineer. I'm actually working water supply, water treatment, industrial hazardous waste, and clean water and wastewater. So I'm going to be retiring at the end of the year. And so how can I help and get involved as a licensed engineer in the state of California?
You did not tell me this, first of all. And second of all, you would be in heaven going with me, because as a non-engineering person, I'm just looking and going, okay, tell me about that. What happened over there? What I have learned so much about engineering. I absolutely love it. My hydrogeologist, my Ethiopian employee, I mean, you'd be off in a corner having your discussions, but you would absolutely be in heaven. I mean, yeah, you would be awesome to be there. So I can see you getting involved and going and consulting with our partners on construction, because sometimes they're presented with things where like they don't know how to deal with it. It's like one of our partners, there were so many big boulders where the spring was. They're like, it was taking so much, so they incorporated the boulders into the design of the wall around the spring. And I'm like, that's great. That's using your brain and really working around the obstacles. So yeah, you would be in heaven. You also would be disturbed by, sometimes I'm like, is that OSHA approved? I think we got some problems there, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I've done some, I have a professor from one of the colleges I went to who does appropriate technology around the world, and has done work in China and let's see, Guatemala, El Salvador, and it's the World Bank actually consults with him because they fund a lot of these projects in third world countries, but then they go away and there's no trained operation personnel. They don't have the chemicals, and they end up these big water and wastewater treatment plants, for example, grow over with weeds, and then they call him in and say, we need some appropriate technology for this type of whatever the culture may be. And so I've done some work with him, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely it's something I'm interested in getting involved in. So I don't know where or how to do that. So if you have more information, you can just email me and let me know.
Okay. Yeah, and there's, in fact, and I don't know, it's a little off subject, but there's been a village I've been involved with in Tanzania, and keep thinking if I could just find the right people to bring together. But apparently that part of the Rift Valley in Africa, they have a lot of fluoride in the groundwater. And I don't know if you know anything about what happens when there's toxic levels of fluoride. And it's just to see these kids and the skeletal, things that have happened and the developmental issues. And so, treatment of that is very expensive, but I know there are some less expensive ways, including bone char, but just trying to figure out how to help. Because it's what you said, the work we do is very simple design, because we're not going to put in something that when we walk away, it's going to break, and then they don't have the technology or expertise to fix it or maintain it. So it's got to be a simple design so that they can continue to sustain it and make sure it works for a long time.
Yeah, no, definitely be interested in helping with that. There's technologies out there that you can use a natural, whatever. I mean, I don't know what kind of environment it is, but there are things out there you can use to filter the water that they have on site, right? You just have to put it in the right structure, filter the water through, and you're good.
Yeah.
Just like the water we have arsenic here in the United States. We've had to shut down wells because we can't do anything about it, right?
Right.
So there's certain chemicals that you're not going to have to do it. You can't do anything about it there without the technology. You have to move to another site. But there are things like fluoride. It can be good, but then it's dangerous at high levels.
Yes.
So like granulated activated carbon is actually a very cheap filtering, type of system you could probably bring there. And it wouldn't be expensive. So there's options for treatment. So yeah, whatever I can do, definitely I want to get involved.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, guys. So thank you so much I know you've had a long day, young man, so I'm sure you're exhausted and ready to eat and relax and take it easy. But is there anything else you want to ask me or share with me or?
Anything else, Miguel?
No.
Yeah, one last thing. So the Boy Scouts, and it's something that I don't know if you guys want to coordinate with Boy Scouts of America, but there's a merit badge that they have to do called Citizenship in the World. And it's all about exactly what this project is. And I mean, he had the merit badge done, but when he made his poster board, was kind of selling it. This is a project you could do as part of that merit badge. So just another marketing potential that if you contact the Boy Scouts of America and say, hey, this is something you can send out to your, nationwide membership to meet their Citizenship in the World merit badge. And so that's kind of how we were marketing it to our boys, even though Michael already did it, but this is exactly what that merit badge is about. So just kind of put that on your to-do list if it's just another avenue for marketing for Boy Scouts to do this.
I love that.
Every time all the boys were like really excited about it. I mean, they really
that's awesome.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because they have requirements they have to meet, but this project just makes it, that much more important, right? What they're learning about citizenship in the world. And it's like there's a citizenship in the community, nation, and then the world. So this project is awesome for that.
Well, and as an Eagle project, it's good.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Cool. They can use it as an Eagle project too.
Okay.
Eagle project.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
well,
anyway.
thank you for sharing that with your other fellow Boy Scouts and making it a part of what you have supported and what you've been doing. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I know you're a very busy young man, so we're just taking more of your time, but that means you're really devoted to it and committed. So thank you so much.
Here's one last thing too. So there's another element here. If there's a potential need for Boy Scouts to take a trip to Africa to help build the well or do something. There's something called the Venture Crew that's Boy Scouts from 14 to 21.
Okay.
It's part of Boy Scouts of America, but it's called Venture Crew, and their kind of their mission is for international projects and travel
Okay.
and go do things. Like our Venture Crew went to Belize and built a schoolhouse. They went up to Montana and did some service work. So I mean, could be in the United States too. So we could try to coordinate something for our Venture Crew. They would raise the money to travel to Africa and do some
Right.
kind of project. So like
Okay.
climbing the mountain, I mean, they would be like all over that. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
an opportunity to bring 5 to 10 Boy Scouts, and it's girls and boys, the Venture Crew.
Sure.
Bring the Venture Crew to Africa to do something with your organization. We could also solicit that to the Venture Crew to see if they were interested.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked me, would you climb again? And I was like, no. I will take people to Africa, drop them off at the base of the mountain and say, good luck. I'll see you when you're done. But I would be happy to set that up and send them on their way. But me personally, no, thank you.
What's the elevation?
19,341 feet.
Oh my gosh. And you climbed from what elevation to 19?
Yeah, I don't know where we started, but it was 8 days. So 7 days up, 1 day down, because you're trying to get acclimated. And it's one of the toughest physical things I've ever done. And I think the worst part was the cold. It wasn't so much I work out. It wasn't that part of it. It was, I think the cold for me was it's like I would be better prepared the next time.
Was there snow or is it an active glacier?
It's a glacier. It's snow. So it was quite chilly.
Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, I can put that feather in my cap. I'm like, I was going to do it.
Is awesome.
Did it.
Really
and
awesome.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. It was beautiful.
Are you in Austin, Texas now?
I am. Yeah.
And that's the core of the organization in Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 3 full-time employees here, 3 part-time. We are the ones that get the work done, and it's a lot for a small group. And I choose, it's all women except for my employee who's in Ethiopia. I'm like, you know what? We're okay. We're a bunch of older women except for my one young 21-year-old. I'm like, we get a lot of work done.
Yeah, that's women for you.
Yep.
Multitasking queens.
That's right.
Well, great to meet you, and thanks for your time and all your all our questions. Appreciate all your answers. So we'll be in touch. Definitely.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys. We couldn't do this without the donors who, raise the money or donate the money. We just couldn't do it. No way. So thank you guys.
We'll talk to Ivan too and Eden about a third well, because we'll definitely want to do it together with her.
All right. Thank you.
We'll talk to them. All right. Take care.
All right. God bless.
Right.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
God bless.
Bye. Thank you.